And we're back. So today, this is another solo episode. I want this to serve as a bit of an update on what's been happening over the last couple of weeks with me. And yeah, I'll just start off by saying, whoa, whoa. I am in the midst of trying to recover from the most challenging couple of weeks I think I've ever had in a long time, if ever. And I'll just kind of briefly gloss over a few things, and then maybe future episodes I'll dive a bit deeper into the different specific topics I talk about today. But one of the main things I want to touch on is this incredible adventure that I just embarked upon with the company Vivo Barefoot in partnership with Aire Libre. More specifically, with the right accent is Aire Libre.
Welcome to Simply Walk the Talk. Our bodies and minds adapt to what we do most of the time. If you want to change your body and mind, you must change what it is you do most of the time. This podcast explores all things health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle, and biohacking. Stay tuned as we explore various thoughts, methods, and experiences from a multitude of conversations between our interesting guests and experts through many fields of work. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Simply walk the talk. Simply walk the talk.
And Aire Libre is this amazing adventure company that creates these amazing experiences around the world in which you can do sort of like running adventures, you can do hiking adventures, and the one that I most recently did, similar to the Speed Project, is one that was near Whistler. So it was in the backcountry of British Columbia, near Vancouver slash Whistler. And part of the reason why I wanted to talk about all of this is because it just goes to show how important it is to recover. And when it comes to talking about optimizing people's health and wellness, this is a part of it, right? So what I'm experiencing right now is something that I know there's other people who travel as much as I do, if not more, but the majority of people don't do as much traveling as I probably do. And so people ask me, like, Josh, how is it that you can do all these things? Well, I have a number of things that I have in place because I travel so much and because I talk about all these things in helping my clients and helping my friends and my family and my loved ones. It all stems from my own experiences. And so this project in which we traveled, a group of us, we all met in Vancouver, and there happens to be a Vivo Barefoot store, one of the local distributors in Vancouver. So we all met there, which was kind of cool. And I think altogether there was about 12 of us. And what I mean by that is that I believe there was 6 quote unquote participants of this Aire Libre adventure with Vivo Barefoot. And part of it was to promote the new hiking range of boots. And of course, everything I do is done barefoot, at least in barefoot shoes. This was one of those ones that was testing our abilities to be able to hike long distances with packs on. And yeah, it was all I can say right now, all I should say right now, otherwise this can turn into a 2-hour podcast, is that this was one of the most life-changing, humbling, and probably spiritual awakening experiences I've ever had. And I say that with the utmost sincerity because I have once before experienced a spiritual awakening, and that was when I did a hero dose of psilocybin. And that was interesting because that was mostly an experience done with a group of doctors and quote unquote shamans to kind of watch over me. But I wasn't really doing anything physical. It felt like I was doing something physical because felt like I was fighting through different challenges, like a a video game in which you have to conquer different levels, and I felt like I was going through that. And when I came out on the other end of it, I was sweating profusely, and I had like soaked the entire bed full of sweat. So it felt physical, but I was just lying there, really. However, with this Aire Libre and Vivo Barefoot project, the hiking adventure, that was mostly physical, but there was also this mental component in which when we got picked up by a helicopter. We all started in Vancouver. We traveled by bus to this we traveled to Whistler, and then the next morning we all traveled to this helicopter this helipad, in which we were going to be picked up by a helicopter, dropped off into the wilderness of the backcountry of British Columbia. And that was kind of the start of this amazing adventure, which was really cool. And I think many of us we weren't too sure what we were getting ourselves into, but once we got dropped off, it was like the coolest thing ever, because, if you've never been in a helicopter before, and to kind of fly over this beautiful area of British Columbia, it's like super amazing. You kind of feel like this is a joke. This is not real life. This is not reality. And then when the helicopter leaves and we're stuck with our heavy packs on, which I think the average weight of the packs that we were carrying was about 30 pounds, give or take, obviously different people with different sizes and different nutritional needs, because we had to have everything on us to be able to move from point A to point B to eventually point Z. And it was about 60 kilometers from start to finish. And we covered 10 peaks. So we went up different mountain ranges, and it was, we did 10 peaks in 46 hours. So in less than 2 days, we covered 10 peaks. And I think when it was all said and done, over 3 days, we covered 60 kilometers in barefoot shoes. We all wore a different variety of shoes, different styles. And what was cool about it, and the reason why there were so many of us, is because we not only had the people doing the hike and doing the adventure and doing the storytelling pieces from that, but we also had photographers and videographers to help capture the content, to create this beautiful, which I'm sure is going to be quite beautiful, amazing documentary that will come soon. And so I want to use this podcast episode as sort of like a trailer or a teaser for what's to come. And so if you are someone that stays on track with keeping up with the things that I do, then you definitely want to stay tuned, because I will eventually give access to that documentary once it's available. And we're going to do a lot of deep diving storytelling opportunities around each of our experiences. I think it's going to be profound, because we all had a different experience amongst the same experience, right? I think everyone walked away humbled in one way or another. And I think some of the reasons why it was so challenging physically and mentally is because, one, we were doing this in barefoot shoes. Two, we were doing this with heavy packs on our back. We had to filter our own water. We had to bring our own snacks. If we didn't have it on us, we weren't going to have it, right? And so it was a lesson in determining what was actually necessary. I'm one to always overpack. I'm kind of known as the person that has like so many bags for a short trip, but a lot of times that's because I want to have different tools to help people if they are in pain, or I like to do, like my red light therapy at night and have my special supplements and all these things. Well, when it came to this hiking adventure, I didn't have any of that available. And so, I mean, I could have taken it, but we didn't have access to phone data. We had little small pockets in which we could either throw up a Starlink, or we could we happened to come to a few pockets in which there was cell phone data. But even that is unusual for me, because it's way out of the norm, because I'm usually capturing content on my own and putting that out. In fact, when I did the speed project, I did some live streaming throughout it, because we were in Los Angeles and going through to Las Vegas, so there was plenty of cell phone coverage. But when you're in the backcountry of British Columbia, there's not access to all that. So even for me, that was interesting, because I just didn't have my phone on. And then when we did find cell phone data where we could use our phones, I was kind of doing the necessary things, like I have this amazing streak on Duolingo. I think it's now like 6 years, like doing Duolingo every single day. And so I was able to it's kind of funny, but I was able to utilize the cell phone data to call my kids. So I called my kids when I was on one of the break points that we took a break, had some food, and I noticed other people doing video calls. So I said, "Oh, okay, this is enough cell phone coverage to be able to make a video call." So I called my kids and showed them what I was doing, because we were essentially off the grid for 3 days, and I didn't have the opportunity because I've been so busy with other work that I didn't have a full opportunity to kind of let people know that I might not be reachable for a few days. So I thought it was important to call my kids. That was really good. But then the other thing I used my time for was to check on social media, maybe do some quick posts here and there. But then I also tuned into my Duolingo to make sure I keep that streak alive. So that was kind of interesting, kind of fun. I will discuss further some of the protocols I used to recover from that trip, because not only was that physically demanding, but we also didn't get a lot of good sleep. We weren't eating the quality food that I'm used to eating. I mean, we were essentially eating what do they call those things? What they eat in the military, those ration packets of food that you kind of just add hot water to. Yeah, that's not the best nutrition, but it was what my body needed, what our bodies needed to kind of do this enduring adventure. And, keep in mind, we're closer to the sun because we're high up in elevation. I think when it was all said and done, we covered about 6,000 meters or 18,000 feet of elevation, which is pretty significant. And then I wanted to make sure that, like, I had some trail mix. So wanted to make sure that I had enough carbs and also healthy fats to be able to power me through. I also took some ocean minerals. I've talked about that before on the podcast, but I had some ocean minerals. I had some creatine. I had things like some with my trail mix. I had the blue green algae, which is really good for oxygen utilization, especially when the air is very thin. You want to make sure to be able to adjust to those levels very easily. So I felt like I was able to do that. I think the thing that was most surprising for me was the amount of perturbations and articulations that my ankle and feet had to go through traversing across those big boulders and big rocks. And right now, it probably doesn't sound like much because you haven't really seen the footage, but hopefully by the time this comes out and by the time the documentary comes out, you'll see the terrain was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I mean, I'm talking like there was bits where there were huge boulders, and these are sharp rocks, right? And then there was smaller boulders, medium-sized boulders. And then there was like smaller rocks, and then there was even down to like pebbles, which was like loose gravel. And some of this loose gravel was on a very, very extreme incline. And there were points in which I had to utilize my making sure I had like 3 or 4 points of contact so that I could create more friction so I didn't slide down the hill, slide down the mountain, I should say. And then there was other points in which I had to actually do like rock climbing just because it was like straight up almost, like incline was so aggressive that we had to literally do like a hand foothold, climb our way up and then crawl over. And yeah, there was moments where I felt my nervous system was just in overdrive, because if you make the wrong step, not only do you have to worry about falling yourself and kind of sliding down the hill to a certain point in which we don't know what that point is, right? You can just keep going. Or you had to be very conscious of who might be below you, because the incline was so great that we had to kind of do it in a zigzag pattern. So there'd be times where there'd be loose gravel and big boulders that would like break loose when my weight would be onto a certain angle of a rock, and it might crash down below. And if somebody's down below you, that's also not good because we didn't have helmets on. And so it was wild, right? I will say that we were safe. We had 3 amazing guides, one of which is MA from Aire Libre. He's part of the Aire Libre team, very skilled climber, mountaineer, just all around badass. And then we also had Julia and Jordan, and both of them are just the most amazing, highly accomplished in their own rights. together as a team, but also independently. They both are just absolute legends when it comes to all things like adventures, like climbing and like rock climbing and mountaineering and all kinds of cool stuff. So to be able to work with them and have them guide us gave us the confidence that we needed. But there's also times in which it was just like, look, I think I'm much heavier than you. So like standing on a footpath that you created may not work for me. You know what I mean? You might have just lodged the rock enough for it to just come loose completely when I step on it. So there was times in which my body would just be shaking because I'm like, wow, this does not feel safe. We were safe. I'm here to talk about it, right? So no one got hurt, which was great, but that's not to say that we didn't walk away with bruises and scrapes and cuts. And we were using these walking sticks, and I used to kind of snark at the idea of people having to use walking sticks. I thought to myself, like, what is the point of that? I now understand the point of using walking sticks to be able to help alleviate the pressure on the joints, because especially in the downhill sections. So like on the uphill sections, you can use it to kind of pull yourself up by using your arms and your upper body to help create movement. But I think it was especially important downhill, because downhill, I think most of us, if not all of us, felt the impact of our knee joints having to take the brunt of the force going downhill with heavy packs on. So yeah, an amazing adventure. I will be talking about this much more in depth, but I just wanted to kind of mention that I flew from New York to Vancouver. Vancouver, took a bus to Whistler, then traveled from Whistler all the way through that 60-kilometer adventure. And then we stayed overnight in Whistler, made our way back by bus to Vancouver, and then we all left to go home the next day. And so I come back to New York, got in just after midnight, and then the very next day, that early afternoon, I had to get on another flight to go and see my kids in Hungary. Now, what's interesting about all this is I accepted the Aire Libre Vivo Barefoot hiking adventure knowing that I was going to miss my daughter's birthday. So the day that I traveled to go to Vancouver was my daughter's birthday, which is September 11th. She just turned 4 years old. And, of course, I called them, I spoke to them, and I say them, both of my kids, but it was my daughter's birthday. So I wanted to make sure to sing her happy birthday. It was doing the best I could to kind of kill two birds with one stone, to be there kind of in both places at once. And I knew that I wanted to just immediately finish the hiking adventure and then get to Hungary as soon as I could, which means I had to hop on another airplane, because going to Hungary, it's very rare to get a direct flight. So I had to stop over in Zurich and then fly from Zurich to Budapest. And then because my kids no longer live in Budapest, which is where the airport is, they now live 2.5 hours outside of Budapest in a town called Zalaegerszeg. Zalaegerszeg. My Hungarian is terrible, but I am learning. I am practicing, because my daughter doesn't speak English. She speaks only Hungarian. So in order for me to connect with her, I have to kind of learn, and she's learning a little bit of English as well. And so we're kind of together learning. And I did the same thing with my son. He was born in Germany, and I was there quite a bit. So I was able to pick up on some German back then, but now it's all basically Hungarian. My son still speaks 3 languages. He speaks Hungarian, German, and English. So he ends up being the one that has to translate for me and my daughter and I. And that is interesting because I don't feel like that should be the responsibility of a young kid. So I'm trying to take the responsibility on myself to learn as much Hungarian as I can. And fortunately, as we all probably know, little kids speak, they repeat themselves a lot. And so eventually I can learn what she wants and what she's trying to say to me. But it's hard for me to say what I need to say back to her. So sometimes I have to use Google Translate, or I have to ask my son to translate for us, which is interesting. And he does it, and he's happy to do it, which is pretty cool. But not only did I land in Budapest just completely exhausted and tired and sore, I have to then get into a car with my kids who are happy to see me and all over the place. And I'm just, ah! And then we travel 2.5 hours to Zala Ergesheg. And that was amazing. It's cool. I got a chance to see where my kids live now, which is a beautiful, amazing community that's out in nature. They kind of converted this old vineyard town. So it's a town in which people who had vineyards, they had these small houses that they live in just to basically go there to take care of the grapes. And it's now kind of being converted into a normal town. I think they still produce grapes, but it's not as much of a vineyard town as it was once before. However, there's lots of different age kids that are there. So it's this whole concept of it takes a village. And I love that because my kids now have access to be able to play with different age kids, and they have different adults who also have kids within this community that take care of the group of kids. And it's really cool to see. And so for the other kids to meet the father of Zane and Zia, it was really cool. And so I got a chance to hang out with all those kids, play with them. But then we had a birthday party for my daughter on Saturday. That was great. It was amazing. All day event. I'm sure you can imagine putting on birthday parties for rambunctious kids is just a lot. But I was able to kind of bring that energy that I typically can bring, especially being the only American, the only English speaking one, right? So I brought my drone, my Hover X1 Pro Max, my new drone, and I used that to kind of communicate with the kids, because with that, you don't have to speak English. You don't have to speak the same language to understand how fun it is to have to see this like very novel small drone that can follow someone or can lead someone. Just put it on AI mode and have it follow them. And they were like running away from it, and then they were on their bikes and trying to like dodge it or trying to outmaneuver it. It was really fun. So anyway, so we did that, and then we were all exhausted. All the parents were exhausted. It was kind of like a potluck style in which people brought different foods from their homes, which was really fun and great. But then the next day, we have to go to about 45 minutes away, 30 to 45 minutes away, to another kid's birthday party. So this other kid, he, I think, is German speaking. So in this community that I was speaking about in Zala Ergesheg, there's mostly Hungarians, Germans, and Hungarians and Germans. And so it's a very like mixed group. And the Germans are either from Germany or from Austria, which is very nearby. And so there's a group of Germans and a group of Hungarians that live in this community. Well, the kid that came to Zia's birthday party, his birthday was the following day. So we took a group of us to go 30 to 45 minutes away to go celebrate his birthday party, which was fun and really cool. I got a chance to meet some people who are also like one of the daughters she just moved to New York and is working at the Hungarian consulate. So like that was really cool to kind of meet some new people, and everyone's trying to talk English and I'm trying to speak Hungarian, which is really fun and cool. But mind you, all of this is happening while I'm still trying to recover from this very demanding adventure I just had gone on, right? Trying to find it within myself to like have the energy to speak with all these new people, to show up as a role model and a father figure for my kids, and just to be present. And then I had to help my ex Steffi, had to help her like rearrange the house that they live in now, because we ended up getting our daughter her own little bed, which was really cute. But we had to take apart the big bed, move it downstairs, build the small bed, have it upstairs, move couches out, do all these things, and then wake up the next morning so we can drive 2.5 hours back to Budapest for me then to get back onto a plane to come home. All of that happened yesterday. I'm here now. I feel like I finally recovered, but I don't know what I would do if I didn't have certain things like you maybe have heard me talk about the WAVwatch. Like I can turn this on right now and see if you can hear the static, but this is a really cool watch in which it creates and generates these certain frequencies that I can select to help elicit a certain desired outcome I want to have. So for instance, like if I'm exhausted, I can put it on exhaustion protocol, I can put it on muscle recovery, I could put it on meditation mode, whatever. And so let's see if we can hear this now. Right now, I'm going to select wave relief, and okay, it's on right now. And sometimes you can hear the, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like ding. It can be quite annoying if you're not used to it or if you don't understand what it does. But when I have the volume at max, which is at level 10, people around me can hear it if I move my wrist in a certain way. But what this is doing is it's using light and sound vibration to be able to elicit certain frequencies, to give the body certain frequencies. And so I use this right after we finished the Aire Libre project. And I also have this other device that's very similar to that. It's called the One device. And so this is a pendant that has some pretty cool designs on it. But on the back, you see that it has a light. And so this light coincides with different light frequencies. And so you'll probably see, if you're watching the video, you can see that it's doing different colors. And I timed it one day just to see, because it's like the light doesn't stay on, but it's about every 5 seconds, it'll go through a series of lights. And depending on what setting I have it on, right now it's going through the cycle mode, which means it's cycling through a wide variety. It's like the rainbow of light frequency. And but when I'm going to bed, as I'm about to prepare for bed, I can put it on a certain mode, like for sleep. So I'll put it on like sleep mode. So right now I'm trying to see if it's going to a different color. Right now it's on a blue. So there's blue. I think if I timed it right, it does the, like, a certain color when it's in cycle mode. It'll do a certain color 3 different times every 5 seconds. Then it switches to a different color. So I think right now it's on green. Yeah, that's green. So it was blue. I forget what it was before that. This also has sound, but it's not nearly as loud as the other one because I can't adjust the sound on this one. But if you put it to your ear, you can definitely hear it. So there's another green. And then let's see what it goes to next. But the One device, I will do a lot more. This one's a multicolored there. I will do a lot more conversation in depth about what this device is. I really love this device. It's really cool. And I pair that with the WAVwatch. And then obviously I take all my supplements. I have my magnetic bracelets and necklaces on. Something else that was really cool is I have been utilizing the Hume Body Pod, which is this really cool smart scale device that goes way beyond just being a smart scale, especially the way I use it. And what I decided to do was I weighed myself before I went to the Aire Libre project, and I was certain that I was going to lose a lot of weight because I knew that we weren't going to be eating a lot and we would have so much more output. So like we'd be burning way more calories than we could probably consume, especially because we didn't want to weigh down our pack any more than necessary. But I've done rucks and heavy backpacking throughout New York City. I think the longest one I ever did was 7 miles. And the calorie output on that, I burned, I think, 1,200 calories, something like that. And it's pretty easy to make sure I can kind of refuel if I just come back home and make something to eat. But when you're out in the wilderness, camping out and having to cook your food with boiled water and things like that, like it's really hard to make sure you get enough calories to maintain weight. So I knew I was going to lose weight. I was just curious, like how much I was going to lose. And the fact that I have this Hume Pod, the Body Pod, I knew that I'd be able to like get a sense for more than just overall weight. And the typical smart scales out there today have like water weight, muscle mass, body fat, bone density, maybe, I don't know, maybe something else, heart rate, things like that. But the Hume Body Pod, that does like 45 biomarkers plus. So it gives you like 45 plus data points in which you can determine what's really happening, how your body is trending. Is it trending in the right direction, or is it trending in the wrong direction? And so I think when I left to go to Canada, I was at about 200 pounds. I think it was like 200.5 pounds. And so when I was doing the project, in the midst of it, I noticed I had to like pull my belt 2 more loops to the very end. So I went down in size 2 belt loops, or 2 belt holes, which is probably about 1.5 inches, which was interesting. And my pants were a little bit baggy. And I thought, okay, I'm sure a lot of that was water weight, but how much of that did I burn in fat? And obviously we refueled the night after we finished, because we had this special dinner to kind of close everything out. Then we had a pretty hefty breakfast the next morning. So I thought, okay, maybe if I lost, quote unquote, let's say 10 pounds, because I lost 8 pounds during the speed project, and I only lost about 1 pound of muscle. And I felt like this was the same, if not more. So I kind of thought maybe I would have lost about 10 pounds. A lot of that probably being some muscle, probably 2 or 3 pounds of muscle. And so I anticipated seeing like 198 when I got back, 197. And I got back, I weighed myself, and I was 200.3 pounds. And I was like, whoa. So I started thinking, okay, and I looked through all the different numbers, and I noticed some differences in the water weight and the muscle mass and the bone density, not the bone density, because that doesn't change much really. But I didn't want to over obsess about it. I just thought, okay, at least I didn't lose a lot of weight, because if I did lose weight, I was going to be worried about losing muscle mass, and that's very precious. We don't want to lose as much of that. If we can lose more fat, great. But there's a difference between subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. And that's one of the things I like about the Hume Body Pod, is that you get a chance to see all of that. You get to see in different sections of your body as well, like how much fat mass is in the arms versus the legs versus the torso. And then you can go different levels within the torso. And I've always kind of found it to be strange, but I have like quite a bit more fat in my left arm than I do in my right, which is so interesting to me. And then the muscle mass is very close to the same. But when I first did my first few readouts and measurements, I noticed that there was a pretty significant difference in muscle mass versus right side and left. But that's normal, right? So what I decided to do is say, okay, I don't like to be just normal. I want to try to optimize my health and wellness any way I can. So I'm leveraging the Hume Health Pod as a way to dictate how I train. So what I started doing, especially before I went to go to Canada, is I wanted to try to see if I could even out the musculature on both sides, and then obviously the fat as well. And I was able to do that, which was great. So I got back, I measured, didn't look at all those muscle stats because I didn't have a lot of time to really go through it, because I was on a flight to go to Europe, right? Well, I got back last night, and I decided to kind of like to not weigh when I got back last night, because I knew I was going to be holding a certain amount of inflammation, which is why I think I didn't lose as much weight as I thought I was going to lose coming back from Canada. I think I was holding on to a lot of inflammation because I was still very, very sore. But now coming back from this European trip, I wasn't sore anymore. So I wanted to kind of see what was what. And so I will probably do a reel that shows all of those changes. But it showed this morning that I was at 197, and my visceral fat is down, my subcutaneous fat is down, I believe, if I remember correctly, my muscle mass went up. Interesting. And I just like things are a lot better. My health score is now back to 900. So I think when I first started my first 1 or 2 readouts of data using the body pod, I think I was at like 650. Then I went up to 900. Then it came down to, I think, 875 or 850 coming back from Canada. And then now that I'm back from Europe and the whole thing is done, I'm at 900. And I feel like it's going to go even higher, because I'm in a position now to be able to do all of the important recovery protocols. Things like I'll talk more in depth about STEMREGEN, but I didn't get a chance to use that during Bantam. I talked about that before. I also didn't get a chance to use that when I was on the hiking adventure, because I wanted to just let my body do what it does and hope that I have enough stem cells in circulation. But once I got back and I started getting back onto my supplement protocol and eating my normal diet, like all of my soreness kind of went away. So I'm thankful to be able to leverage all the tools that I have to be able to do these things. And yeah, I think it's one of the things that I definitely learned from doing this project is that even though I am really big on doing foot exercises and I'm a huge proponent of barefoot shoes and barefoot health and foot strength and things like that, even I have some work to do. And I realized that my lateral ankle strength wasn't as good as I thought it was. And there were some points in which I was doing my walk in which I was happy to have the feeling, the sensation of the different boulders and rocks. But I realized with the added weight and the volume of walking and hiking, it really made my entire body sore. But I didn't have any blisters, which was great. I used the wool socks, the Toby socks that I have touched on a little bit. And so having wool was great because anytime we stepped into a puddle, or I think the last day, like all the days that we were there was beautiful. But then the last day of our hike, it was supposed to rain all day. Fortunately, it didn't rain until we were making our descend from down from the peak of the mountain. And that was brutal. I mean, we were just getting dumped on. It wasn't heavy rain, but the accumulation of the spitting rain was just, it was intense. And I'm just happy that the fact that we didn't get a chance to take a shower, we didn't have like access to all the normal things we normally have. It was a really cool way to kind of show just how resilient we can be and the capacity to push beyond our perceived limits. So I'm going to wrap up with that. I think I will definitely put out more information and show some more content on what all this is about. But yeah, I had a blast. I hope you guys get a chance to push yourselves in a way that we decided to push ourselves, because it's like when being asked to participate in something like this, I knew it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, something I couldn't pass up on. And I'm happy I did it. And I feel like I came out of it a new person. So you're speaking to a more evolved, a more humbled Josh, and I hope to share a lot more. If you have questions about the shoes that we used, or other reasons why it may have been challenging, what are some other surprises, feel free to hit me up. Maybe send some comments in the question or questions and comments in the description below or in the comments section. I'd be happy to talk more about something you want to know about. And feel free to share this, because I feel like the world is kind of gravitating more towards community in this way, in a way in which not random, but various people from different cultures, different backgrounds, none of us had experience except the guides in a backpacking adventure of this magnitude. And we all sort of came out of this thinking like, yeah, we can push, we can do this. And as long as we're being safe and being reasonable with how we push our bodies, we can do almost anything. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks for listening up to this point, and stay tuned because there's a lot more to come. I can't wait to show you and to tell you all about it. Till next time, this is Josh signing off. Peace.
Walk the talk, talking facts. Move like me, but I move a little fast. Make my move, here to last. Fasten these seatbelts, I'm coming past. Take care of me, longevity. Hack my biology, better believe. Walking the talk, soul, mind, and body connected. Better come give us a listen. Better come give us a minute or two. Open the box up, we giving you tools. Giving your engine the fuel that it needs. Breathing into it, it's autoimmune. Make a connection, we're stronger than two. Making us one of a kind of a few. Work on the mind, but show me your moves. If you do what you say, you know what to do. Yeah.
Simply walk the talk.